Hi, I'm Colin from Woodpecker UK. For those that don't know me, I've been around this industry since January of '94. I was trained by four great guys, Lance Leonhardt, Reza Madavi, Robert Chakwer and Andy Anastasiou, and I was working with them until '99 when Dent Wizard bought the company and I left to set up Woodpecker. In 2008 I started concentrating on hail, and that's what I do now. Over those years I've noticed an awful lot of changes to the industry, and one of those is the advent of the technology that we call induction heaters for dent removal. And many people have asked me in recent months, what's the difference between the Thotbox and the Woyo? I'm really into advances into our industry, and I want to get the best out of it, because I do believe we are only a fraction into what is possible in this industry. What some of you guys are doing is mind-blowing towards what we did 20 years ago, so let's see how far we can go with this. I plumbed for the Thotbox myself. I have both the steel one and the aluminium one. This is for another day, but the aluminium one is a much different animal. It's the same size box of electronics, but the head's 5-6 times the size of the steel one. But we'll talk about that another time. A good colleague of mine has kind of lent his Woyo, so we've got the two of them on a workbench. Let's have a play with them and see what we can find out. What's best, what's not, what works, what doesn't. Let's see where we go. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. The most obvious difference straight away is price. You'll pick one of these up an awful lot cheaper than you'll get one of these. Loads of different places to buy them from, loads of different prices, but that's the crux of the matter. These are a downside cheaper than them. Okay, so what does your money get you? With a Thotbox, it comes in its own plastic carry case. It's strong, it's tough, it's not very big, and when you've got that and its power cable, and especially I actually have my 3-metre cable in mine, it goes in, and I prefer to keep it all together, but it makes it really hard work putting it back together. Thankfully when I'm on a hail gig I don't have to put it back together very often. So not great, but at least it's got its own carry case that keeps it together, keeps it safe. In the case comes the box itself with the mains lead, which is attached. It comes with the European plug as standard. As far as I'm aware, I don't think they actually do them with a UK plug. It comes with the cable, just that connects the machine to the head. This is what Betag call the heat pen, and it actually comes with a nylon tap down, which I've never used. Oh, and it does have an instruction book, but again I've never even looked at it, I don't think. And then we move on to the Woyo, which comes boxed up in its own little cardboard box. Some packaging to keep it safe, 40 pages of instruction manual. The box itself has a power cable. Again, it comes with a European kettle lead. This is actually the kettle lead off my soldering station, so I don't need to use an adapter. Power switch on the back of this. Woyo call this, I think, a restoration head or something rather than a heat pen. The cable, 2 spare on-off buttons, I'll come to that later, and 3 little nylon tap downs of different radiuses. So let's power them up and see what each does. This is the Thotbox setup. We've plugged the output cable into the Thotbox at one end and into the heat pen at the other. The output cable has 2 identical nitric connectors, and it doesn't matter which you plug into each. It's a parallel cable, so it's all good, dead easy. The power switch is on the front, on off, no other controls anywhere on the machine. The selector switch on the front, 2 halves. On the one hand you can have a percentage of the power output on this machine that provides 1,000 watts of power at 100%, and there are 5 graduations down to 20%, so as long as you are pressing the actuator button, it will provide 20, 40, 60, 80 or 100% of that 1000 watts to the heat pen and into your panel for as long as you're pressing that button. On the other side, it will provide 100% of power for the number of seconds that you select on this switch, going from 4 seconds, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, and down to a half a second. So if I just turn it on, if you notice, it does actually have a double beep, and it will continuously do that unless you turn it off. And you do that like this. You start with the unit off, you turn it all the way to 4 seconds, you then turn the unit on, and then you turn to whichever setting you want, and that will turn that double beep off. That, if you're in a body shop situation, it doesn't really bother me because it is so noisy you can't hear it. In my workshop here, it drives me insane. So that, to me, I love it. Okay, the next beep is when you press this, whilst it's doing that, it's providing heat to the heat pen and onto your panel. So if you're on 4 seconds there, as long as you've got your finger on this, it will provide heat for 4 seconds. Doesn't matter how long you leave your finger on that. After 4 seconds it turns off the power. Okay? On the other side, depending on the percentage of power you want, quite often, to be fair, nowadays I use mine on 100% and just use my own initiative and knowledge on what I've learned on how to use it to regulate how much heat I put into it, as in when I think it's hot enough, I let go of the button. So with the 100% power, as long as I've got this pressed, it will put all that 1000 watts into this heat pen and into your panel, like so. As long as I've got that held, it will continue putting the power into the panel. Okay? So we'll go into what that power does later, but now let's have a look at the Woyo setup. I've installed the output cable. The output cable isn't screen cable, it's just straight 4-core. It's not got nitric connectors, it's just standard ones, and to be fair, it doesn't feel anywhere near as robust as the one that comes with the Thotbox. But again, it's a parallel cable, identical ends, it doesn't matter which end you put into the restoration head or the box. The power switch on the Woyo is on the back. Just like the Thotbox, it has this dual beep. The difference with this is, unless you're going to get your wire cutters out and take the lid off, you ain't going to stop it doing that, which obviously that's going to void your warranty. On the front here, it has a backlit LCD screen, and the details of the LCD screen mirror what the power selection switch says. So again, there's 5 positions for power output for continuous use. So at 100% power, as long as you've got that button pressed, it will continue heating the panel whilst you've got the button pressed. Again, on the time settings, 1 second, doesn't matter how long you press that for, it's only going to apply heat for 1 second. So that system is very, very much identical to the Thotbox. Both of them have cooling fans, notably. The difference being, the exhaust from this cooling fan is on the back of the machine, and on the Thotbox it's actually on the base of the machine. So this, you could put this on anything and it's not going to harm the machine by doing so. The Thotbox, however, being on the base of the machine, the cooling fan is on the base here, and if you were to put that on something soft, then potentially you could obstruct the exhaust of the cooling fan and allow the machine to overheat. The plus side of having the fan on the base is that any dust in the air isn't going to get sucked up into the machine, so potentially that system, as long as you don't put it on anything soft, could keep that machine cleaner inside for longer. Okay, so you're probably all, like me, more interested in what is actually going to be the difference between them in operation. rather than their physical looks. I don't have a car here, but what I do have is my inner scientist, and I've devised some experiments which will visually represent what these things do and the differences between them. So, the first test, I'm going to use this tape and this baking tray, but don't tell my partner. And I have a infrared thermometer here. We tested the surface temperature of that. It's 21 degrees-ish, something like that. If I put my hand in front, you can see 28 degrees or so, 27 degrees, something like that. So I'm going to take a couple of bits of this tape. And I'm going to put one on there and one on there. There we go. Okay, so we've got the Woyo set up at 100% and 1 second, and we have the Thotbox set up at 100% and 1 second. So we're going to use the Woyo here and press this button and allow the Woyo to go for 1 second, then it will turn itself off, and let's see what happens. There you go, you see there's a little puff of smoke there. That expansion coming to the metal, and you see the light distort. You saw the metal come up with the expansion. It's pretty warm to touch, but not stupidly hot. Now I'm going to do the same with the Thotbox. Again, set to 1 second. I'm going to press the button until the machine turns itself off. Bit more smoke there. Same expansion. Metal came up, but you see here. Let me find something to point with this bit of solder. If you see between here and here, the tape's actually gone quite shiny, and it just so happens that, sorry, if I get my vernier caliper here set at 10mm, you'll see that that shiny bit is exactly the distance as is between the ferrite core on the Thotbox end. So that proves that the heat happens between the ends of the ferrite core. Now, with the Woyo, we didn't see that. The ferrite core is larger, and the machine is of a lower power, so I am concluding that a lower power dissipated over a larger area means that it's not actually providing the expansion that is needed to remove the dent as efficiently as that is doing. That doesn't mean to say that this machine isn't going to do the same job. It's going to take longer to get up to temperature, but it's heating a larger area of metal, which in my opinion it's not going to be able to do what that can do. There are pros and cons of that, but before we go into that, I'm just going to do this again. Give it another second. And another second. Now, you see here, after 2 more hits, on this area here that's burnt, let's say, for want of a better description, and that size is that's probably 13mm, something like that, which again is the size of this, pretty much. And that proves what I'm saying, that when you're taking a dent out with an induction machine such as these, you're relying on heating a small amount of metal and the surrounding metal to stay as cool as possible, because it's the difference in temperature between the bit that you're working on and the bit at the side that creates the expansion and the distortion that you use to take the dent out. So that's the first experiment concluded. Okay, so the second experiment, again I was looking for something that would give you a good visual representation of the power that comes out of the end of these things, and obviously the power is converted into heat into the metal. So I came up with this. My glamorous assistant cameraman Chris decided that he would help us out by eating some beans and toast for lunch earlier, and we now have this wonderful tin full of water. And what I'm going to do is heat the bottom of the tin, and you can see what happens pretty much like if you was looking into your kettle, or Wasserkocher if you come from Germany. So here we go. Woyo is set on 100% power for as long as I'm pressing the button, and when you hear the rapid beeping, that's it heating. So here we go, pressing now. I can actually feel a very, very slight vibrating there, but I'm sure you can actually see some bubbles coming up and some sort of eddy currents and stuff in the water as it's being heated, which, you know, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so I'll put that down and I'll show you the hotbox. Again, put it underneath. Again, set on 100%, and it will stay on 100% for as long as I'm pressing the button. And here we go. Straight away you should be able to hear the difference in the power, and you can see there the rapid bubbling of the water right next to the steel, and it's obviously putting a lot more heat into the tin there. And just to prove it's not because the hotbox went second, we'll go back to the Woyo, and here we go again. This is Woyo times 2. That's it going again. Still does it, it's just not quite as powerful. So there you have it. So in conclusion, I think that the ability to deliver a larger amount of power to a smaller area of panel, and what I see as a much better build quality, justifies the extra cost of the hotbox. I think the Woyo's build quality is way below its Swiss counterpart, and I'm fairly confident that an experienced operator, and I use the word operator rather than technician, because I think if you give a very good technician a hotbox or a Woyo that's never seen one before, it can ruin anything just the same as an unexperienced technician. So I'm using the word operator, and I'll say that an experienced operator will do much more in less time with a hotbox than an experienced operator with a Woyo. But conversely, you know, it's a double-edged sword, because it's so fierce and efficient at doing what it does. I think if you put the hotbox in the hand of someone who is either inexperienced or careless or both, then they are way more likely to cause heat damage to the paint, and that's obviously not good. That said, I do think that the Woyo is undeniably cheaper, and therefore it's good value for money. I can't knock it. You know, it does a lot of what the hotbox does. Okay, not to the same finesse, but you know, let's face it, it's a lot cheaper. So I think both of them are very good value for money for what they do. But you get what you pay for, you know. I think that how you see an induction machine helping you in your business with the type of work that you do, and how adaptable you are with new technology, how you are at learning new things should probably be the deciding factor in which version you would ideally choose. I do suspect that those who invest in the Woyo and become very proficient at its use will probably end up buying the Thotbox, because I'm pretty certain the Thotbox will do more than the Woyo. But you know, if you can't see yourself spending, I don't know, it's maybe 1,500 quid, with it, something like that with a VAT, then 400 or 500 quid or whatever they are for a Woyo, yeah, it's a halfway house, and it's probably worth having a go at. So I haven't really got anything bad to say about any machine. They both have the place. I think that just about sums it up. So you've chosen which machine is best suited to you. You've got your machine, and do you want to get the best out of it? Well, myself, I've been running this for, I don't know, nigh on 2 years or something, and the very first thing I noticed was the cable that it comes with is nowhere near long enough. So I made a longer one, and this is it. I've been running this for probably 18 months, I think, that cable. It does me fine. You know, it allows me to work up to 3 meters or 10 feet from the Thotbox, and it saves me trailing my mains cable everywhere. A lot of the techs I've worked with that also use Thotbox have asked me to make cables for them, and I've ended up making them and sold them at IASRE in Germany, and I now make them in standard size of 9 meters, 5 meters and 3 meters of length, in both straight ends on either end, or other cables that have a straight end on one end and a right angled end on the other. They all have genuine Neutrik connectors made in Liechtenstein. They're all made from screen cable, heavy duty, with gland supports that prevent the conductors from breaking prematurely. They're reliable, they're strong, they're sturdy, they're quality cables. Another thing I've come up with is the cart cable. If you happen to have your Thotbox on a cart all day and you're running around the car with a 9 meter cable, one day you're going to get to the end of the cable, not realising it, and pull your Thotbox off the cart, smash grams worth of kit on the floor. This will stop that. Basically, you put that into the Thotbox, you screw that to the cart, maybe you put that in the bottom of your cart and you screw that to the top level or something like that, and then put your normal cable into there, and if you got to the end of the cable, you'd be pulling the cart towards you, not the Thotbox off the cart, saving you a fair bit of brass. Enter the heat saver. How many times have you repaired a dent and thought, yeah, I'm happy with that? So you go to the sales manager's office, and when you're walking back towards the car with the sales manager, you think, ooh, that's not good. Well, that's, as you no doubt know, because when you're further away from something, you can see more. That's why I come up with this. Last season, I was working on rails with the Thotbox, and with the heat pen being at the end of your thumb, that's as far away as you can get. Now, when I'm doing a rail, I tend to use a Thotbox and blend, use a Thotbox and blend. And when the blending hammer is this long, but your heat pen is here, you keep having to move back and refocus your eyes on the point where the dent is. So it's a lot quicker if you can have the heat pen the same distance away as the head of the hammer. So I came up with the Heat Saber 400. You put the heat pen on the end, you put the cable in the other end, you've got your blending hammer in one hand, heat saber in the other, work the dent, heat it, blend it, heat it, blend it. Dead simple. one distance from the dent, not having to refocus, you'll get the job done in half the time. Not only that, because you're further away, you can actually see a lot more detail. Made from carbon fibre, nitric fittings both ends, waterproof, dustproof, lightweight, comes in two lengths, 400mm and 600mm, both the same, just one's a little bit longer than the other. If you're doing something with a rounded shape, so imagine Citroen C3 or Fiat 500 or something, if you're using a 600 on a rail, you'll find that because this has to be at 90 degrees to the panel, by the time you get 2 foot away, your arm is a long way off the panel, so you're kind of floating in mid-air. So for something like that, the shorter one is better. For longer cars and for vans and things like this, the 2 foot long one, the Heat Saber 600, is much better because you can get further away and get more benefit that the 400 provides. These are available on my website. Get in touch through Facebook, or if you have a look on the Velocity PDR website, they are actually selling them on there as well.